everyone, after about 5 hours, I 100% Alan Wake 2's final DLC, The Lake House. Unfortunately, one of the achievements, Shape of a Man, is glitched, and there's no way to unlock it unless you roll a die. It's extremely buggy, and people on Reddit and many achievement forums have voiced their concern. Unfortunately, I tried to get it about 9 to 10 times, so I've given up until Remedy can issue a patch, but I did 100% everything else within the DLC. So let's discuss whether this DLC is a worthwhile finale to Alan Wake 2, which took forever to come out. The narrative takes place before the events of the core campaign of Alan Wake 2. Here, Kieran from the mainline campaign has been called to investigate the Lake House facility to find out what's been going on inside. She finds out the directors of the facility, which is a married couple, have been using FBC resources for their own personal gain and experiments for glory. Unfortunately, one of their experiments went way off the line and has caused a full outbreak of Taken within the facility that is extremely dangerous for everyone inside, as you might expect. Your job is to regain control of the facility, shut down the experiment, and rescue any survivors within. At its core, the narrative doesn't really do anything special, but it does the job of establishing more characters within the Alan Wake universe, and what I love about it is it showcases that you don't really need to be a superpowered person to make a difference. Kieran is just a normal person trying to survive what is going on, and this is essentially a suicide mission. She ultimately does a good job of highlighting how she deals with such stressful situations, such as with breathing exercises and just plowing through to the next objective, and other avenues to boost her own confidence. She's not girl boss, and she just knows she has a job to do, and she has no other means to complete it other than keep pushing forward. As for furthering the Alan Wake controlled narratives, this DLC does little other than slightly building on those games, such as returning characters from both the original Alan Wake, which I guarantee people probably won't make the connection unless you explored all of Hartman's facility, and there's also a Easter egg for Control for those who look hard enough. Much of the gameplay remains the same. You'll gather supplies in a third-person perspective, take down Taken by destroying their darkness shields using your flashlight before dealing fatal damage. I did notice that supplies are a lot more limited this time around, but the brand new enemy is absolutely amazing. It's called the Painted Man. This enemy looks so cool. He's like the Pale Man from Pan's Labyrinth, and he comes out of the paint and it's like just clawing his way out as he tries to kill you. And unfortunately, he's immortal for most of the DLC. There's only one type of weapon that you get later on in the game that can deal fatal damage to him, and ammunition for this weapon is extremely limited. And since you don't know which painted figure he can claw out of, and there can be multiple versions of the Painted Man, but this is also a double-edged sword. While it's a cool concept, it can get annoying because he can essentially jump out of any type of painted wall or surface and drain a large portion of your health by simply grabbing you. So I died a lot trying to deal with this guy, and there's no way to defend yourself unless you get that very exact weapon, and even then you're only limited to one type of way to defend yourself. The DLC does end on a high note, narratively speaking, because you get to avenge everyone who suffered because of these two bozos, but not gameplay wise. This is because the final boss is basically a recycled Taken and only has one new attack, where it hurls a rock at you, which I found a bit comical. And to make the boss fight harder, they decided to add a mob to the encounter, which I'm not a fan of when it comes to video games in general. I feel like boss fights should be able to stand on their own merits, and if you need to add mobs into the fight, it subtracts from the overall experience. And for those expecting some sort of detective work similar to the core campaign with Saga Anderson's Mind Palace, or some sort of work where you investigate a crime, it's not really there. You do find documents and collectibles in order to research what exactly is going on, and Kieran does write down notes onto her map showcasing she doesn't have the Mind Palace like Saga does, but is a pretty good investigator, finding out what exactly happened here and piecing together all the evidence. So I like that detail within the game, which shows that she has her own process. The Lake House is more Alan Wake 2, and I loved it a lot more than the Night Springs DLC, which was its own isolated experience similar to Alan Wake's American Nightmare. This actually has a narrative that complements the core game and allows you to explore an FBC facility from a normal agent's perspective, which I found very intense. However, as the final DLC to Alan Wake 2, which took forever to finally come to fruition, it definitely misses the mark, and this is because it doesn't add anything substantial to the continuation of either Alan Wake or Control. It does build on the original game of Alan Wake with the Painted Man and finding out where this individual came from, and another person achievement from Control, which I won't spoil. Perhaps if this was an isolated adventure with Kirin dealing with an altered item or object of power, it would have had more impact because it would have shown that there's a lot more devastating objects out there. Granted, Control did show that, but it would have been somewhat more profound if they had a certain squid-like figure, I won't say from Control, show up again. But I'm also still annoyed about the achievement situation. Either way, if you did enjoy Alan Wake 2, you'll love this DLC as well, and I hope we get to see more of Kirin in future installments of this expanded universe. Till next time, thanks for watching, like, sub, and share. Goodbye.